through the week, a lot of people have been doing what does West Virginia have to do to win at Penn State videos. And they all come out pretty much the same, so I wasn't going to do one. I didn't have anything to add to it. Then my brain took a side street and started asking, what would I ask somebody the day after the game if I hadn't seen it? I don't know where the idea came from, but it put a different spin on things. I started seeing some ideas I hadn't noticed before. So, these are questions that I would ask Sunday morning if I hadn't seen the game Saturday night. And you can bet I intend to see the game Saturday night. First question for the offense. Did Garrett Green complete a high percentage of the short and intermediate passes? Now we know about his running, but the short and intermediate passes were sort of the last thing on the list that he needed to correct. He partly corrected it at the end of last year, but the percentage was still too low. And those aren't necessarily flashy plays any more than a 4-yard run up the middle is a flashy play, but they are bread and butter, move the chains kind of plays that make bigger plays possible. Until you hit the curl, nobody is going to bite on a curl and go. So did Garrett Green make the basic passes? For the running backs, okay, we know they're good. But did they get any yards to the outside? That has still been the one spot the game is lacking. Tackle to tackle, man, they hit it. But we have not, and it's not just the running back, the line has not been as good on outside reads. So did the backs get to the outside and get yardage? And that includes things like the fly sweep. We got to get outside the tackle. We got to get wide on the running game to open up the middle for the running game. And did the receivers get good yards after the catch? That was a thing last year. Completion percentage was good, but the receivers frequently got tackled as soon as they caught the ball. They didn't have separation. They didn't break tackles. They didn't have just that yard or so of space necessary to make a move and make the first guy miss. We have to get yards after the catch. Whether it's 5 yards, 20 yards, a touchdown. We have to get yards after the catch. On the defensive side, did the defensive line fill gaps or create gaps? Did they play assignment football? If you are where you're supposed to be, you don't have to make a flashy play to stop the play. But if you aren't where you're supposed to be, you just created a gap. And if the linebacker is where they're supposed to be, they're not in position to fill the gap that you weren't supposed to create. And you end up with big runs up the middle. I expect Koba to be good. But my question would be, did anybody take the reins at will? I wouldn't mind if we just had two guys play well, but I would like to see somebody take control of that position. I'd like to have a couple of guys who were playing it well and at least one who is playing it outstanding. So did somebody stand out well at will? Did the defense get their hands on the ball? If they do that, first of all, it means they're being aggressive. So, another way of looking at the question. But if they get their hands on the ball, which means going for the strips, getting the tips, then you will end up with some turnovers. But you gotta go for it. You gotta try to make the plays. So, were there tips? Were there attempted strips as well as strips? And just overall, did the defense play an aggressive game? Were they bringing pressure, which means 4, 5, 6 guys coming? Did the pressure make a difference? Did they get to the quarterback? Did they get the tackles for loss? And of course, that also creates opportunities to get hands on the ball. Those are things that I think make a difference in the game. If we get positive answers to those questions, we might also have the win. Of course, it's a complicated game, and I'm not going to say do this, this, and this, and we win, or don't do it and we lose. Odds are, we lose. It's going to be a tough game. And I'll tell you right now, it's the only game that I'm not just going to pick West Virginia to win. I don't expect them to win every game, but I'm going to pick them anyway, because I think their chances are good every week but this one. They've got a chance. It's not a good chance, but if Green completes the short and intermediate passes, if the running backs can get to the outside, if the receivers get yards after the catch, if the defense is aggressive, gets hands on the ball, if the will spot is good, then it could be a win. Or another way to look at it is if West Virginia scores more points than Penn State, they probably win the game. And that is the oversimplified, if only life were like that, answer. Score more points, win the game. Yeah, go team. Anyway, those are my Sunday morning questions for a Saturday night game. I might or might not try this idea for other games. Depends on which way my brain happens to turn at any given time. However, I'll think of something, and I'll be watching on Saturday night. See you Sunday.